Does God still speak through dreams today? I am confident he does. I'm confident he does. I'm going to share a dream I had with you guys approximately 3 years ago. And I recorded a video about it 2.5 years ago. I posted on my old YouTube channel, so I'll link that down below. You can go check it out for confirmation. Now, this was a dream that really, really, really troubled me when I had it. And I knew it meant something. I just had no idea what. And when I had the dream, I asked people about it. I prayed about it. I thought on it for a couple of days. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't figure it out. But I decided I'm going to write this down so that I don't forget. As I wrote it down, the meaning just came to me. Just all of a sudden, I understood what everything meant. So I'll share it with you. You can take from it what you will, but I'm going to share it anyways. And it has to do with the political situation that's happening in Canada. I live in Canada. If you can't tell from my accent, we're Canadian. And so in my dream, I was in somebody's kitchen. I don't know who. I was just in a kitchen. And I turned around and I saw 2 crayfish crawling across the kitchen floor. Now, a crayfish is kind of like a small gray lobster, and some people eat them. I don't. I think it's kind of gross, but they were crawling across the floor, and I thought, I have to get a bucket. I have to put them in something. So I turned around, turned back, and they were both on their backs spinning around really fast. You know, like when you spin a top and it just goes. And they were spinning so fast that it became mesmerizing. That's all I could focus on in my dream. Just for a few moments they were spinning, and then the one on the right tore in half. Like the bottom half just blew off of it for some reason. It tore in half, and they both stopped spinning, and they just kind of laid there. And then the one on the right that had just blown in half, it tried to keep crawling forwards, and it couldn't get very far. And from behind me on the right, a giant red lobster came up, and it just covered them and dominated both of them. Just no fight, it just sat on them. And it was a giant lobster. It just completely crushed the both of them. And then I woke up. And it was a very troubling dream for me because I knew that I had seen something that meant something. I just had no idea what. And I prayed on it. I thought on it. I asked people about it, and nobody could figure it out. So, like I said, I wrote it down. As I wrote it down, the meaning came to me. And God gave me a really good confirmation of it. I'll share that after too. But it represents political parties in Canada and what's going on right now. Right now, it's early April 2025, and the 2 crayfish represent the Liberal and the NDP parties in Canada. They're both left-wing parties, kind of going the direction of Marxism. And I had this dream before they formed a kind of a coalition within our government to get things done. And basically they're crawling across the floor together. They're working together. And when they spin really fast, that represents that they got out of control. They went they started pushing all these woke policies and craze, like they're legalizing hard drugs and releasing criminals. They're doing the craziest things. And that's what them spinning on their backs meant. Like they just got completely out of control. And then the one on the right that tore in half represents the Liberal Party. And what happened is a few months ago, just all playing out exactly like I saw, the one that tore in half is the Liberal Party. A couple months ago, close to half of the MPs in that party revolted against Justin Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister, the leader of that party and Prime Minister. And that party kind of tore in half. That's what the breaking of the law of the crayfish meant. And it's trying to crawl on. They got a new leader, Mark Carney. They just kind of threw him in there. And they're trying to crawl on. They're trying to keep going. The one on the left that stopped spinning, it just laid on its back. The NDP, they're completely immobilized right now. They're just there, and they're trying to keep going. From my right, which represents the political right, a giant red lobster came up, and that was the Conservative Party. They're kind of more like a right-wing party in Canada, and they came up and they just completely dominated both of those lobsters, and they didn't have to fight. There was no struggle. They just completely crushed them. And that's what's going to happen in our next election. The next election, they call the snap election, which is about 3.5 weeks out right now. And they're going to completely win in it. I know it. And again, they dominated them. There was no fight, no struggle. And God gave me a confirmation of this. I went down to a river right down the road from us. And now you have to understand, when something dies, it doesn't last very long. I mean, we're out here, there's animals, there's coyotes, foxes, wolves, like all sorts of stuff. And when an animal dies, it gets eaten or destroyed pretty quickly. And if you happen to find a crayfish exoskeleton, like their outside shell, that's pretty rare to find a whole one. I went down to the river. I crouched down. This is shortly after the dream. I just went down there. I crouched down by the river just to it was beautiful. I was just enjoying it. And I looked down by my feet, and there was 2 crayfish exoskeletons, which is extremely rare to find 2. The first one was just, the one on the left was intact, and the one on the right was just the top half. The bottom half was missing. They were both laying on their backs, just like in my dream. 2 crayfish on their backs, the one on the right, the bottom half is gone, just like in my dream, pinned down by a rock. And the odds of finding that in nature is extremely slim. I put them in my kids' lunch bag after they ate their lunch. I put those little crayfish in the bag and I took them home. Anyways, you can see them in the video. I've linked down below. I have them in that video, and we're seeing it play out right now. So I took it as just a prophetic dream about Canada's political situation and what was coming. And it's an encouragement, it's a hope that better times are ahead. I'm not saying that the Conservative Party is a perfect, godly party. I'm not saying that. The leader of it, Pierre Poilievre, I think he's a great guy. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Again, he's not perfect, but God works through imperfect people. Even someone like David, King David, who was a man after God's own heart, made some big mistakes during his time as king. So I'm not saying I'm expecting him to be perfect, but I do know that God is going to work through him. And God can put godly people and great people in positions of power in foreign pagan governments to benefit his people. He put Joseph in a position of power in Egypt. He put Esther in Persia. He put Daniel in Babylon. God can put his people in pagan political systems in order to benefit his people and to make himself known. And God is doing that. He's going to do that in Canada. He does that in other parts of the world as well. But I believe this was a prophetic dream about the political landscape of Canada. We're seeing it playing out exactly like I saw in my dream, and I'm just going to share this now before the election. Again, you guys can take what you will from this. If you want confirmation, I'm not making this up, check that video down below that I recorded 2.5 years ago. And again, this was 3 years back I had this dream. So I'm excited for it. I love seeing that God shows you in advance what's going to happen, because only God knows the future. I hope this is an encouragement to you guys, that you can take something from it. Even if you don't live in Canada, I hope it's helpful in some way. Thank you guys for watching, and God bless.